again for joining me today. My name is Ilana Orlovsky, and I'm looking forward to going through some of the main trends we're seeing within the coffee and tea categories. Before I get to that, though, I do want to give you guys some context as to what we do at Imbibe so that you really understand how I acquire the knowledge that I use to help inform our clients for their inspiration on their next flavor or product launch. So at our Beverage Innovation Center, just outside of Chicago, we formulate beverages across categories, including dairy, dairy alternatives, protein, CSDs, energy drinks, and of course, coffee and tea. And we design and sell the custom ingredients and custom flavors that go into the over 300 projects we work on annually. One of the benefits of working for a full service beverage development company like Imbibe is that I'm only steps away from the lab, which is replete with beverage scientists and flavor chemists working together. So in addition to all the research I do on a regular basis, which includes, of course, reading a ton of industry publications, pouring through syndicated data, and my personal favorite of being out in the field and trying new products, I'm able to witness change in real time before products hit the marketplace. It helps that we work with some of the most forward-thinking brands in both retail and food service, ranging in size from a single entrepreneur or startup brand to beverage behemoths. In 3 years at Imbibe, I've worked really hard to maintain a pulse on the beverage landscape. So even though our main focus is product development and formulation, one of my primary roles is to provide critical insights on innovation and trends that help inform and inspire our customers as they work to fill their innovation pipeline. So in the next 25 minutes or so, my goal is to make sure that you all learn something new and leave with a better understanding of the main trends we're seeing within the coffee and tea categories. If you do have to drop off before the end, this webinar will be recorded and available on our website by the end of the week. There's a lot of content to get through though, so we won't have time for questions, but my contact information will be on the last slide. So please feel free to email me and I'll be happy to continue the conversation. But for now, time for some coffee talk. So this first section is going to showcase some of the most disruptive, compelling, and innovative coffee-based products. The versatility, ubiquity, and demand of coffee is driving the growth across a variety of coffee segments. Refrigerated cold brew sales, for example, grew 460% from 2015 to 2017, but we've also seen success outside of cold brew. The Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee RTDs, which hit the market in February 2017, reported impressive first-year sales that were just over $67 million from May 2017 to May 2018. According to Mintel, coffee RTDs currently hold 20% of the US RTD market share, and this segment is projected to grow 67% over the next 5 years. The North American RTD coffee market as a whole is currently valued at $2.5 billion and is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate or CAGR of 2.7% to $2.6 billion by 2023. Additionally, 46% of coffee that was consumed in 2017 was consumed outside of the home. So consumers are out and about drinking coffee, both at coffee shops and in RTDs while they're living their busy lives. And as we'll see throughout this section, that coffee comes in many varieties. So one area with significant growth potential is a trend that we started watching a couple of years ago, and that is value added or functional coffee, though I've just started to hear of actually a few brands calling their products super coffee. It's all in that umbrella though. So consumers really want to get not only the most bang for their buck, but also as many health benefits as possible, as long as they align with the core category. So adding prenatal vitamins to a caffeinated coffee beverage might not be the most strategic move, but additional alertness or ingredients for sustained energy or even potentially detox might better align with a coffee-based beverage. So under the functional or super coffee umbrella, I want to highlight some of the main health benefits and ingredients that are currently being incorporated into coffee products in the marketplace. So the first is protein. Both brands rooted in the coffee category and brands that primarily offer products in the sports nutrition or protein space are offering coffee protein hybrids. So this product from Orgain is just one of many coffee-based products that deliver at least 10 grams of protein. Sometimes the protein is just from milk, but other times, both in RTDs and in powder beverages, they're fortified with protein since demand for this macronutrient remains steady. And the proliferation of protein is something that we actually see firsthand as we have many clients requesting protein-rich products across categories. We've seen proof that fat is back with increased sales of butter and whole milk, and this has begun to expand even across beverage categories, but for today, I'll stick to talking about butter or fat coffee. So brands are really springboarding off of the bulletproof coffee philosophy and leveraging the increased interest in the ketogenic diet, which prioritizes fat and discourages the consumption of carbs. Several brands have come out with coffee enhanced with MCT oil for the many benefits associated with it. These medium chain triglycerides are naturally found in coconut oil and palm kernel oil, and they're thought to convert calories into energy faster, and they're also associated with increased cognitive performance. So there are only a few butter coffee or MCT enhanced coffee brands that have come to the market so far, but there are also several brands that are starting to offer MCT enhanced coffee creamer. So this adjacent category is also one that we expect to be impacted by the increased interest in better for you fats and MCT oil in particular. The next value add is mushrooms. So mushrooms have made several trend prediction lists in the past year or so, and many types have even found their way into coffee. The most common varieties we're seeing are chaga and reishi, but we expect that more will be featured and they will not be relegated solely to coffee. Chaga mushrooms are thought to help boost the immune system. They're rich in many vitamins and minerals. And then other mushrooms, including reishi, are also associated with strengthening the immune system. Taste is definitely a major consideration here. Mushrooms can be polarizing, but more and more consumers are willing to try something for the benefits it delivers. For them to try it again, though, it has to taste good enough for them to want to. While many of these products represent a segment that features a particular ingredient or benefit, this next product, Immortal, incorporates many superfood type ingredients, including maca, rhodiola, chia, and coconut into their Nitro Super Coffee product. This beverage claims to offer sustained energy with the help of these super ingredients. And even though there aren't many products or probably any products with this particular combination of ingredients, this product really reinforces the idea that brands are working to develop the holy grail of coffee, a refreshing beverage that makes the end user feel as healthy and as energized as possible. Another interesting and pretty disruptive innovation is coffee with probiotics. So before the brand on this slide, Joe Froyo, came out with a few SKUs of probiotic coffee, the only brand that I knew of that offered probiotic fortified coffee was a brand called Juice by Julie, and that was the only one on the market for several years. The probiotics market is expected to grow at a CAGR of 7.4% through 2024, though, so it's not surprising to see this bacteria infiltrate many categories. Because more than 70% of our immune system is located in our gut, finding balance in our GI tract can have a really big impact on our overall health, and that remains a priority for many consumers. Another way that probiotics are showing up in coffee is actually through products that combine coffee and kombucha. So this product from GT just launched in the past few months, but we have been watching what I call Cofucha for at least a year and a half. Products like this one claim to offer the probiotic benefits of kombucha in addition to the alertness that coffee offers, while of course providing some novelty and leveraging the growth of the kombucha category, which I'll talk about more in the tea section. So I also have to take this opportunity to mention Cascara, which I tend to grandfather into the coffee category, even though it's starting to hit the marketplace more as a tea. It comes from the dried skin of coffee berries, may have anti-inflammatory properties, and has potential to gain mainstream acceptance since its history of being discarded makes it extremely attractive to sustainability advocates. Starbucks helped put this ingredient on the map with their Cascara lattes in January 2017, and since a few brands have begun offering sparkling Cascara beverages, teas, and one brand even developed a cold brew coffee and Cascara hybrid product. So one of the biggest disruptions to the coffee category is colorless coffee. There's one brand out of the UK that launched clear coffee, but more recently, an energy brand, Hackamore, came out with a clear coffee energy shot that they say has the same caffeine content as 1 cup of regular coffee. There also was a coffee-flavored seltzer LTO at the end of last year, which isn't exactly coffee, but it's a really interesting strategy to help consumers get comfortable with the idea that coffee doesn't have to be brown. The next emerging trend, which we're calling coffee plus fruit, impacts the overall flavor profile of these beverages, though in some instances there may also be added function. This particular brand, Coffee Juice, uses juiced blueberries as a way to enhance this coffee product. There are also brands mixing juice, lemonade, and coconut water with coffee. And this is something we definitely expect experimentation with in food service. And with the constant demand for coffee innovation, we predict that more coffee and fruit combinations will hit the grocery aisle, though they'll likely remain a bit on the periphery. So sparkling coffee is the next segment worth talking about. Even though there's been a steady decline of traditional CSDs, sparkling water has seen tremendous growth, and consumers appreciate the mouthfeel associated with sparkling drinks, so more brands are launching sparkling coffee beverages in response and as a way to keep this category energized, no pun intended. Some brands are actually calling their products coffee sodas, but others are sticking with coffee and they're actually trying to position their products as refreshing beverages. One note is that many of the products that are hitting the market, and there still aren't a ton, it's just starting to pick up, are highly sweetened. But we predict that the next generation or the next iteration of these sparkling coffees will have a much lower sugar content. The last trending attribute innovation is nitrogenation or nitrogen infused coffee. This is actually something that's easier to implement in the food service space, and we've seen this attribute obviously in beer for ages, but there are several brands that have perfected the luxurious foam in an RTD. Ball actually has a proprietary package with a widget to help deliver nitrogen-infused products, and we're currently working with them on developing nitro products in other categories as well, since we've seen the value of enhancing products with nitrogen. Some say that the mouthfeel that nitrogen imparts can replace and sweeteners, especially in coffee, which means that the end result is still creamy and complex, but without added calories. So I did want to take just a brief moment to bring your attention to coffee cocktails. This isn't a novel menu offering, but we're seeing cold brew more frequently being used, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing nitro coffee in cocktails as well. This slide is really just to demonstrate the versatility of coffee and cocktails with examples from menus across the nation. So it's important to note that this emerging trend of superfood lattes that I'm including in the coffee section rarely contain coffee, but they're definitely inspired by the conventional latte, which blends espresso and steamed milk. In place of coffee, these superfood lattes incorporate an often nutrient-dense or at the very least visually appealing ingredient and a milk of some kind, though frequently they're including plant-based milks. So this slide highlights some of the most popular ones and ones that we expect to grow in popularity. I may not speak to all of them, but I definitely encourage you to either experiment with some of the featured ingredients or at least look at some of these beautiful beverages on Instagram. So the popularity of the first latte, beetroot, isn't only due to the fact that it's millennial pink, but also for the attention that beets have been getting in food and beverage. They're high in nitrates, which help deliver oxygen to the muscles, but the benefits don't stop there. They also may help lower blood pressure and help with weight maintenance. So we've been watching hashtag beetroot latte for almost a year, and Instagram occurrences have increased over 128% since August of last year. Occurrences of hashtag golden latte have increased more than 64% since August of last year, though, of course, we've seen turmeric permeate other food and beverage categories. The global turmeric market is forecast to grow at a CAGR of 5.5% through 2027, and Peet's Coffee launched 3 golden latte varieties in January. Those do include coffee, so sometimes I want to reiterate these lattes do. They just don't have to include coffee in order to still be categorized as lattes. So the next superfood latte, the mermaid latte, is still very fringe. Just for a frame of reference, hashtag beetroot latte already has more than 12,000 Instagram posts, whereas this mermaid latte is at just around 1,700, but hadn't passed 1,000 when I started watching this particular offering. Blue, however, we know is not as common of a color in food and beverages, so we could see consumers kind of gravitating towards blue lattes, especially if they're packed with nutrient-dense ingredients. One brand, Nutra Organics, actually came out with a powdered latte that they call mermaid latte. Ingredients include a blue superfood blend with matcha butterfly pea flower and blue spirulina, and an adaptogen blend made with ashwagandha, Siberian ginseng, licorice, and milk thistle. So the next latte almost helps complete the drinkable rainbow, as this taro latte gives off a pastel purple hue. The purple tinted root vegetable, or taro, is thought to aid with digestive health and is rich in vitamins C and E. There are also some purple lattes made from the purple sweet potato, or ube, and that ingredient is also starting to trend in other desserts. So far, these regal beauties are most popular in Indonesia and Australia, but it's only a matter of time until they become more readily available in the US. The last group of superfood lattes is black or goth lattes. These are created with a variety of super ingredients, the most common being activated charcoal, black sesame, or coconut ash. And of course, there are a variety of health benefits associated with all of those ingredients. But another thing to note is, as much as we see these beautiful, vivid, colorful photos going viral, there's also something really visually arresting and impressive about the starkness and the black and white photos where these particular lattes are the subjects. While these are the main lattes that we've been watching, I know that more superfood lattes are coming. I actually just saw a broccoli latte emerge from Australia last week. It includes broccoli powder, coffee, and milk. So consumers continue to eat with their eyes, prioritize health, and be open to historically less popular ingredients, which will translate into more superfood lattes and probably more superfood hot chocolates and super ciders as well. There's an inherent health halo to tea, and though the health benefits of tea vary depending on the type of tea, the list is vast. There's a lot of research that suggests tea can protect everything from your bones to your immune system. So growth is projected both in the RTD market and in food service, and this section will highlight some of the ways we're expecting the category to change and grow. Speaking of growth, the RTD tea market grew by 40% between 2011 and 2016. And according to market research firm Packaged Facts, US tea sales were up 6% in 2015, surpassing $7 billion. And retail sales of tea are expected to hit $9 billion by 2020. Additionally, according to Technomic, 39% of younger consumers would like more cafes to offer specialty tea drinks, compared to only 19% of older consumers. So flavors beyond the classic Earl Grey and English breakfast are nothing new within tea, but looking at the range of flavors of tea can help demonstrate how much flavor innovation this category can withstand. As consumers have grown more accustomed to compelling flavor combinations, they've also been accepting of the variety of different types of tea now available in the marketplace. So the main tea types are white, green, black, oolong, and pu'er. From these, we get some of the more common varieties, like matcha from green tea and chai, which is made from black tea. Now, chai was actually a top ingredient on menus and saw an 8% increase in menu incidences from Q2 2015 to Q2 2017. There's also a lesser known purple tea from the same plant as the other 5 basic teas, but the leaves are only found in Kenya, so it's not nearly as pervasive. There's also a brand, Inca Tea, that offers purple tea that comes from purple corn, indigenous to Peru, but this would be classified as an herbal tea. Still, we expect interest in purple tea to pick up, especially because of the impact that vivid colors have on products in the digital age. The list of herbal teas is long, but some that have gained attention in the past few years, mainly for the health benefits associated with them, are rooibos, guayusa, and yerba mate. And I also wanted to mention the butterfly pea flower here. So this flower yields a beautiful blue tea that actually changes colors when lemon is added to it. It's almost like a unicorn frappuccino occurring in nature. So when you add lemon, the blue tea turns to a purplish pink and usually makes a kind of really stunning gradient. Sometimes this is also just called butterfly tea, and I'd recommend looking it up and watch a video of this color changing beverage. I included a few pictures on this slide so you can get a sense of the effect. It's hard to know how successful this could be executed in retail, or if it could be executed in retail, but I wouldn't be surprised if brands are already considering this, both for the health benefits this tea offers and for the sheer hashtagability. One of the tea segments that has seen tremendous growth is the kombucha category. Dozens of kombucha RTD brands have popped up over the past few years, and an executive for Whole Foods reported that kombucha occupies up to 1/3 of refrigerated functional beverage space in Whole Foods. Also, something that you probably have noticed that's available in most Whole Foods is kombucha on tap. Sales in this category grew 41% in 2016, and sales have a CAGR of 25% through 2020. Matcha is a versatile ingredient with many possible culinary applications and has seen a tremendous resurgence in beverages. The 2017 Google Beverage Trends report offered a lot of insight into matcha, which has seen an uptick in searches in the past several years. For earthy flavor searches, it was the second highest by volume in both the US and the UK. And according to the same report, it's most associated with teas and lattes. So when people are searching for it, they're searching for it in conjunction with those terms, tea and latte. It's possible that it will also act as a platform for additional innovation, similar to what we see happening with cold brew and coffee. So this could mean different brewing methods, manipulating attributes, or having it be one component of a hybrid product. So this one brand featured here, Imbibe Sweet, for example, already sells a nitrogen-infused matcha. So speaking of nitro, it's something that we're seeing more in food service and also in retail. In Orange, California, a coffee and tea shop called Contra Coffee and Tea has a dirty horchata and a masala chai that they have on tap. And Cadence Cold Brew, Caveman Coffee Co. and Cold Brew Coffee Company also have a few ready-to-drink nitro teas already available. Another interesting innovation in tea, which is partly inspired by coffee and of course convenience, is instant tea and tea in sort of less traditional formats. One example on this slide is from a brand called My Tea Drops. They actually offer pressed tea leaves in a variety of shapes, and they sell their products without their traditional tea bag. You just drop the shape in hot water, and that's all you need for a slightly sweetened cup of tea. The other product is called Peak Tea. It's tea crystals that almost instantly dissolve in hot water. So some might argue that traditional tea is already pretty instant, but consumers appreciate having options, so more and more brands are offering tea in less traditional formats. I do want to clarify, I'm by no means asserting that traditional tea bags are on their way out, though we are seeing that that technology is starting to change. I actually remember seeing a brand called Tea Pigs at the National Restaurant Show, and they pride themselves on offering biodegradable mesh tea temples that they say help deliver higher quality tea, in addition to being better for the environment, which addresses another growing concern of consumers. So the next trend is still an emerging segment in retail, even though tea lattes are pretty prevalent in food service. Most popular RTD tea lattes are matcha lattes and chai lattes, though we've seen a few other types hit the market. One note, though, is that so far, almost all of them have been made with dairy milk, but as more innovation happens within tea, we predict that more brands will develop non-dairy tea lattes. We're also seeing the brew method called out, both as a way to make tea seem more premium and to offer more variety. Cold brew tea, for example, is becoming more common, and this is achieved when you brew tea slowly, allowing time to release the flavors instead of temperature. And some claim it allows for a truer, less bitter taste. Argo Tea actually launched a biodynamic cold brew line in 2017. And it's worth noting because this is another platform where we expect to see innovation and health benefits incorporated into, just like we've been seeing with cold brew coffee. So far, there aren't many brands developing tea-based cocktail mixers, but as consumers shift towards healthier habits, there's definitely room to incorporate more health benefits into cocktails and other alcoholic beverages. So this one brand, Kombucha, is actually kombucha with the alcohol still in it. So it's positioned as a better for you cocktail, which is a segment we also expect to gain more attention in the coming years. I've actually started to hear the term tea tails as a way to refer to cocktails that feature tea in them. And here are just a few examples of how tea is already being integrated into cocktail menus across the nation. As you can see, there are many different types of tea in this very small sampling. So whether or not tea-based cocktail mixers pick up as a category, experimentation with tea and alcohol is definitely something we will see more of. Some brands may even opt to develop tea-based or tea-infused spirits as a way to minimize the number of ingredients used and offer flavor complexity to cocktails. So there are a few more trends within the tea category that are still very fringe, but I wanted to make sure they're on your radar because they represent innovation of textures and flavors and have potential to gain more widespread acceptance. I mentioned sparkling coffee, which we're starting to see more, but with the steady interest in sparkling, we expect this to extend to tea as well. So far, there aren't many brands coming out with new sparkling tea products, but we do expect more brands to develop these products to combat the decline of traditional CSDs. Sugar content is definitely going to need to be a consideration when developing these products, and really all products going forward, really. But we're keeping our eyes on launches of sparkling tea and expect there will be several unsweetened varieties or lightly sweetened varieties coming to market in the next 12 to 24 months. The next trend is cheese tea. So this is a specialty drink with a tea base on the bottom, topped with a cheese cream. And it originated in China, and now it's made its way to both of the US coasts. So the sweet and salty flavor profile associated with this indulgent drink might give it the momentum it needs to make its way into more third wave coffee and tea shops around the nation. It's also, of course, visually appealing, novel, and texturally complex, which are all characteristics that really resonate with consumers. Also, earlier this year, the number of Instagram posts for hashtag cheese tea was just over 7,200. And with the current number of posts, this represents more than 163% increase. And lastly, another sort of fringe tea trend worth watching is mushroom tea. As I mentioned, mushrooms are being utilized at an increased rate right now in both food and beverage. And I know I mentioned some of the benefits that we see when mushrooms are combined or integrated into coffee products. As a tea, it's most commonly a mushroom powder or a loose leaf blend, and it may resemble coffee in a cup, but it touts the benefits of these medicinal mushrooms, another one of which may be stress reduction. All right, thank you guys so much. That just about concludes this webinar on the major trends within coffee and tea. I'll just leave you with a few nuggets, a few little takeaways. The first is the most successful products of the future will address multiple consumer needs. Developing novel products will also help capture initial interest, which could lead to long-term success. Considering the visual impact and crafting beautiful and complex beverages, mainly for food service, but really it's a necessity in the digital age. So when starting to innovate, it's important to ask, what's the hashtag? The alcohol space is changing, and there are more consumers committing to not drinking at all or drinking a lot less, and or want the health benefits during happy hour. So there's definitely room for coffee and tea cocktails, both on retail and food service, as well as just sophisticated non-alcoholic drinks that can be enjoyed in a similar environment. And lastly, if you have an idea for a flavor or concept that you'd like to incorporate into your portfolio, or are looking for even more inspiration, Imbibe can be your development partner, and we're happy to help. Thank you again so much for joining me for today's webinar. My contact info will be left up for a bit. And for those of you in the Chicagoland area or who travel here for trade shows, I'd be happy to meet up with you for a cup of coffee or tea. I happen to know just a few places in the area worth checking out. So please be in touch, and thank you again for your time.